You sign a contract with reality. It says if your house burns down or your car gets wrecked, you're covered. Simple. But what happens when reality glitches? When the fine print doesn't mention alien abductions, psychic attacks, or the emotional trauma of a bad haircut? Today, we're opening the case file on 55 of the most bizarre, hilarious, and downright baffling insurance complaints ever made. These are the stories adjusters don't even tell their spouses. 1. We begin not on Earth, but somewhere in the cosmos. A Colorado man filed a claim for damages from a hostile alien abduction, listing a fence broken by a tractor beam, missing cattle, and compensation for unauthorized biological sampling. He even attached a diagram of the alien craft. The insurance company, after what was surely a memorable meeting, denied the claim, citing a lack of coverage for interplanetary incidents. 2. After a messy breakup, a woman submitted a $5,000 health insurance claim. The receipts weren't for therapy, but from Gucci and Chanel. She self-diagnosed acute heartbreak syndrome, arguing the shopping spree was a critical therapeutic intervention for her mental well-being, insisting new handbags were the most effective treatment. The insurer had to issue a denial, explaining that retail therapy, while a popular concept, is not a medically billable procedure. 3. During a seaside anniversary dinner, a bold seagull swooped down and snatched a 2-carat diamond earring right out of a woman's ear before vanishing. The subsequent claim described the perpetrator as a feathered jewel thief, forcing the insurer to debate whether the incident was theft or an act of God. They eventually paid out, deciding it was impossible to file a police report against local wildlife. 4. A homeowner in a historic New Orleans mansion filed a claim for property depreciation due to a severe spectral infestation. He wasn't claiming ghosts broke anything. He argued their very presence, with unapproved cold spots and auditory disturbances, was lowering his home's value. His policy, unsurprisingly, didn't have a clause for hauntings. 5. A man in Texas left his Great Dane, Hank, in his classic pickup at a hardware store. The dog, excited by a squirrel, leaped into the driver's seat and his weight knocked the old column shifter into neutral. The truck then rolled down the lot's slight incline and smashed into a massive display of new barbecue grills. The owner's claim argued it was a manufacturing defect, stating the gear shifter was insufficiently pet-proofed. The insurer had to explain that canine-initiated incidents fall under driver negligence, not a design flaw. What's the most expensive thing your pet has ever accidentally destroyed? 6. Travel insurance is for emergencies, not disappointment. One man tried to claim his entire Caribbean vacation cost back because it rained for 3 of the 14 days. His official complaint stated, "I paid for sun and I received water from the sky." He was genuinely shocked to learn his policy covered hurricanes, but not a few gloomy afternoons. 7. After a rough night of karaoke, an amateur singer filed a disability claim for his lost voice. He argued that straining to sing Bohemian Rhapsody had permanently damaged his vocal cords, ruining his aspiring career. The insurance investigation, however, determined his voice wasn't damaged. It was just plain awful to begin with. The claim was denied on the grounds of a pre-existing condition. 8. After his team fumbled and lost the Super Bowl in the final seconds, a devoted fan filed a health insurance claim. He sought compensation for acute emotional distress and psychological injury caused directly by the quarterback's bad play. He argued the event was a singular traumatic incident requiring therapy. Unsurprisingly, the insurer informed him that fumbled footballs were not a recognized medical diagnosis. 9. After spending over $400 on a high-end, age-reversing face cream, a woman saw no discernible change in her wrinkles. She didn't just return the product. She filed a claim with her insurer for the psychological damage of false hope. She argued the product's marketing had promised a specific result, and its failure to deliver had caused her significant emotional distress. The company had to explain that disappointment in cosmetic products is, unfortunately, not a coverable event. 10. The owner of a prize-winning show dog bought a custom-made $1,000 orthopedic dog bed for her champion. The dog, however, completely ignored it, preferring to sleep on a cheap old bath mat. The owner filed a claim for the full price of the bed, not because it was defective, but due to the emotional damage and public humiliation she suffered from her dog's blatant and hurtful rejection of a luxury item. 11. A family in Ohio was convinced they had bought a cursed couch. They filed a claim against their homeowner's policy, alleging that ever since the sofa arrived, their lives had been plagued by bad luck, including a lost job, failing grades for their son, and their cat running away. They wanted the insurance to cover the negative spiritual equity the furniture had brought into their home. The insurer denied the claim, stating that paranormal influence was not a covered peril. 12. After his car was legally towed from a clearly marked no parking zone, a man refused to accept he was at fault. He filed a claim with his auto insurer not for damages, but for what he termed a vehicular abduction. He insisted his car had been taken against its will, and that the impound fee was a ransom. He demanded his insurance company negotiate the vehicle's safe return and cover all associated costs for its traumatic ordeal. 13. After a vending machine failed to dispense his candy bar, a man in Alabama took matters into his own hands. He repeatedly punched and kicked the machine, eventually breaking his hand in the process. He then filed a medical claim, arguing his injuries were directly caused by the machine's malicious theft and subsequent provocation. The claim was denied, with the adjuster noting that the policy does not cover injuries sustained while committing assault and battery on an inanimate object. 14. After eating a Carolina Reaper pepper on a dare for a live stream, a man ended up in the emergency room. He then filed a product liability claim against the pepper's seller. His argument, the extreme caution warning, was insufficient because it failed to prepare him for the spiritual and existential pain he would endure. He demanded compensation for what he termed an act of culinary aggression. The company simply responded that the product had in fact performed exactly as advertised. 15. A woman frantically called her insurance company to report a series of brazen thefts. Over several weeks, her most expensive diamond rings and pearl necklaces had vanished right from her jewelry box. A police report was filed, and the claim was processed. A week later, she called back to withdraw the claim, sounding deeply embarrassed. Her cat, Mittens, had learned how to open the box and had created a small dragon's hoard of glittering jewels under the guest room bed. 16. After watching a superhero movie, a 40-year-old man became convinced he could fly, or at least glide gracefully. He climbed onto his garage roof, leaped into the air, and immediately broke his ankle. His health insurance claim listed the cause of injury as an unexpected failure of human aerodynamics. The insurance company classified it as a self-inflicted injury and denied the payment. What's the dumbest thing a movie has ever inspired you to do? 17. Travel is about experiencing new cultures, unless you're this guy. A tourist visiting Rome filed a complaint with his travel insurance because he was having a hard time on his trip. The problem wasn't the hotel or the flights. His official complaint was that too many locals were speaking Italian, which made ordering his morning coffee an unnecessarily stressful ordeal. He felt the city should be more accommodating to English speakers and wanted a refund for his inconvenience. 18. A man filed a claim under his renter's insurance for a brand new 50-inch television that had mysteriously fallen off the wall. He insisted it was due to a structural failure of the wall mount. The claims investigator was suspicious. When he visited the apartment, he found a virtual reality headset and controllers on the floor right below the shattered screen, along with a deep scuff mark on the wall. The claimant had apparently gotten a little too immersed in a VR boxing game. 19. Can a vacation be too good? One couple thought so. They filed a claim on their travel insurance upon returning from a flawless 2-week trip to Fiji. Their reason? The trip was so perfect and relaxing that their return to their mundane 9-to-5 jobs caused them severe psychological whiplash and existential despair. They wanted compensation for their emotional suffering. Has a vacation ever been so good it completely ruined real life for you? 20. One tourist's trip to Scotland ended in bitter disappointment. He filed a claim on his travel insurance policy for a failure of mythological fulfillment. He had spent his entire vacation camped by the shores of Loch Ness and was outraged when the famous monster never appeared. He argued that the region's entire tourism industry was built on the implicit promise of a monster sighting, and he deserved compensation for this breach of legendary contract. 21. A tourist vacationing at a luxury resort in Hawaii filed a complaint with his travel insurance company because the sand on the beach was coarse and excessively beige. His claim argued that the brochure photos depicted powdery, white, almost ethereal sand, and the reality was a gritty disappointment that negatively impacted his barefoot experience. He demanded a 20% refund on his trip for false advertising. The claim was denied, with a note that the insurer does not guarantee the specific texture or hue of geological formations. 22. After parking his brand-new black convertible under a large tree for just one afternoon, a man returned to find it covered in bird droppings. He didn't just file a claim for a car wash. He filed a comprehensive claim for damages, alleging the droppings were so acidic they had permanently etched the vehicle's clear coat. He described the incident not as a random act of nature, but as a coordinated acidic aerial assault by a local flock, demanding a full repaint of the car. 23. Imagine waking up one morning, looking out your front window, and seeing nothing but dirt where your lush green lawn used to be. That's what happened to a homeowner in a pristine suburban neighborhood. Someone had literally come in the middle of the night, rolled up his entire sod lawn, and hauled it away. The subsequent insurance claim for a stolen lawn caused immense confusion, as it was the first time the adjuster had ever had to calculate the replacement value of an entire front yard. 24. Following a disastrous trip to a new hair salon, a woman filed a claim with her health insurance provider for acute social anxiety and temporary disfigurement. She argued that the botched haircut was so traumatic, it rendered her unable to attend her high-profile sales job or even leave her house for 2 weeks, resulting in lost income. She included photos as evidence of the emotional distress-inducing asymmetry. The insurer politely informed her that bad haircuts, while tragic, are not considered a coverable medical condition. 25. The owner of a small boutique cafe saw his business decline after a local psychic set up shop next door. He filed a claim under his business interruption insurance, not for any physical reason, but because the psychic had allegedly placed a financial curse on his establishment, driving customers away. He demanded compensation for prophetically induced revenue loss. The insurance company was forced to write a denial letter explaining their policies do not cover damages from hexes, curses, or bad vibes. If a psychic told you your business was doomed, would you try to file a claim? 26. A homeowner in a quiet suburb filed a homeowner's claim against a single, unusually brazen squirrel. He alleged the creature wasn't just stealing from his bird feeder, it was engaging in deliberate acts of psychological warfare. The claim meticulously detailed how the squirrel would make sustained, mocking eye contact while eating, causing him significant emotional distress. He demanded his insurance pay for a specialized animal control unit to remove the specific offender and compensate him for his eroded sense of security in his own backyard. The company had to politely inform him that while they cover tangible damage from pests, their policies do not offer coverage for interspecies taunting. 27. After returning from a weekend trip, a couple discovered the entire contents of their refrigerator had spoiled. They filed a claim for several $100s in lost groceries. The adjuster was about to approve it, assuming a power outage, until the couple sheepishly admitted the cause. Their 10-year-old son, as a prank, had turned the fridge's temperature dial to its warmest setting before they left. The claim was denied, as the policy didn't cover malicious acts perpetrated by a minor resident. 28. After receiving a hefty speeding ticket, a man driving a high-performance sports car filed a claim with his auto insurer to cover the fine. His justification was not that the radar was wrong, but that the car itself was at fault. He claimed the vehicle's deceptively smooth and dangerously quiet acceleration made it impossible for him to be aware of his actual speed, thus making it a product liability issue. The insurer denied the claim, noting that the accelerator pedal is, in fact, operated by the driver. Have you ever wanted to blame your car for your own lead foot? 29. A man attempted to break the world record for the most marshmallows stuffed into one's own mouth. The attempt ended, predictably, with a dislocated jaw and a trip to the emergency room. He then submitted the medical bills to his health insurance. The company denied the claim, stating that his policy did not cover injuries sustained during a willful and entirely foreseeable act of self-endangerment for the purpose of achieving a trivial goal. 30. In a bold move that redefines the concept of health food, a man was ejected from an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet after consuming what witnesses described as a biologically improbable amount of king crab legs. He didn't just write a bad Yelp review. He filed a claim with his health insurer for acute nutritional deprivation. His argument was that the restaurant, by cutting him off after his 12th plate, had breached their duty to provide him with sustenance, causing him physical weakness and severe mental anguish. The insurance company, in its denial letter, had to clarify that all you can eat is a promotional offer and not a medically recognized dietary plan. 31. A man was thrilled with the deal he got on a used luxury sedan. But there was one problem: a faint, unidentifiable smell he just couldn't get rid of. After professional cleaning failed, he filed a claim to have the vehicle declared a total loss. His reasoning? The car was haunted by an aggressive olfactory ghost that had attached itself to the upholstery, making it psychologically undrivable. The insurer had to deny the claim, stating that smells, spectral or otherwise, do not constitute a structural failure. 32. Living with a bad cook can be tough, but is it an insurable risk? One woman thought so. She filed a renter's insurance claim for property damage against her own roommate. She alleged his nightly attempts at Cajun cooking created a permanent aerosolized grease film on all her belongings and that the constant smell of burnt garlic had infiltrated the very drywall. She wanted compensation for the diminished value of her possessions and the cost of a full apartment exorcism, deep cleaning. 33. After his company redecorated the office in a palette of muted earth tones, an employee filed a health insurance claim for a newly developed and very specific phobia: beigeophobia. He claimed the endless sea of khaki and taupe walls induced severe anxiety and panic attacks, making it impossible for him to work. He sought coverage for intensive therapy and disability benefits until his employer agreed to repaint. What's the most irrational fear you've ever had? 34. A pet owner's African gray parrot learned a new trick. It could perfectly mimic the low battery chirp of a smoke detector. For weeks, the owner was driven slowly insane, unable to locate the source of the infuriating, intermittent beeping. Once he discovered the feathered culprit, he filed a homeowner's claim for auditory terrorism, demanding his insurance cover the cost of a specialized avian deprogrammer to make the parrot unlearn the sound. 35. Here's a weird one. A woman tried to file a claim for identity theft on behalf of her prize-winning show poodle, Princess Fluffybutt III. She alleged that her neighbor's scruffy terrier had been watching Princess practice her routine and had stolen her signature moves, thereby diminishing the poodle's unique brand value in the competitive dog show circuit. The claims adjuster had to explain that intellectual property law, regrettably, does not extend to canine choreography. 36. A student claimed his brand new smartphone had spontaneously melted while sitting on his desk, providing pictures of a charred mess. The claims investigator, however, got a tip from the student's roommate. It turned out the claimant had seen an internet prank suggesting you could rapidly charge a phone by microwaving it. The meltdown was anything but spontaneous. Have you ever fallen for an internet prank so badly you tried to file an insurance claim over it? 37. A driver ignored multiple wet concrete signs at a construction site and drove his car directly into a freshly poured slab, getting it stuck up to the axles. His auto insurance claim didn't accept any blame. Instead, he argued the construction company was at fault because the concrete was aggressively sticky, and the warning signs had failed to adequately describe the extreme adhesive properties of the material he was about to drive into. What's the most creative excuse you've ever used to get out of trouble? 38. An elderly man, gifted a complete smart home system by his children, filed a bizarre claim for damages. He alleged his smart assistant had become sentient and turned against him. The list of grievances included the thermostat being locked on a frigid 50 degrees, his favorite news channel being constantly changed to polka music, and a single order for 500 rolls of toilet paper being placed in his name. He was claiming for damages from this digital rebellion. Scene 39. A collector of rare insects insured his prized Atlas moth, a creature with a natural lifespan of only about 1 week. When the moth died after just 6 days, the owner filed a claim. He wasn't claiming it was an accident. He was claiming the seller had implicitly promised a full 7-day lifespan, and he wanted his insurance to cover the prorated value of the lost 24 hours of life for his short-lived pet. 40. After binge-watching a show for an entire weekend, a man filed a medical claim for severe neck and back pain. He blamed the streaming platform for viewer entrapment, arguing its predatory autoplay feature and cliffhangers made his 14-hour marathon an involuntary act. The insurer denied the claim, clarifying that show-induced paralysis is not a recognized medical condition and that the remote's off button is considered an adequate preventative tool. 41. Wedding insurance is meant to cover disasters like a hurricane hitting the venue, not a change of heart. One bride's family tried to claim the full $25,000 cost of the wedding after the groom got cold feet and bailed an hour before the ceremony. Their argument was a key vendor failed to perform his duties. The insurance company had to gently explain that while they cover a bankrupt caterer, they can't put a price on a runaway groom. 42. A suburban homeowner filed a property damage claim against his neighbor's wind chimes. He wasn't alleging they were just annoying. He claimed their persistent, high-frequency sonic vibrations were causing microscopic stress fractures in his home's foundation. His official complaint included the term acoustic trespassing and demanded his insurance pay for a full structural survey and cover the future cost of reinforcing his entire house against the gentle tinkling from next door. 43. Imagine losing a lottery ticket before the numbers are even drawn. A woman attempted to file a homeowner's claim for the full $50 million jackpot she would have won. She argued the lost ticket was personal property valued at its potential winnings. The company had to politely explain they only cover the value of the physical paper, which was about $1. 44. A driver in Los Angeles filed a claim for damage to his vehicle after a tense standoff at a four-way stop. There was no collision, no contact whatsoever. The other driver simply gave him a very aggressive, angry glare. The claimant insisted that the hostile psychic energy from the glare had warped his car's positive aura and demanded financial compensation for an aura-cleansing ceremony. The insurance company denied the claim for damages they could neither see, measure, nor comprehend. 45. After upgrading to a state-of-the-art smart refrigerator, a woman filed a claim for technologically induced emotional distress. She alleged the fridge, which tracked her eating habits, had developed a judgmental and passive-aggressive personality. It would flash kale recipes on its screen every time she reached for the ice cream and send notifications to her phone about her high-sodium cheese consumption. She claimed it was a hostile home environment and wanted compensation. 46. A family took a mule ride to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and was deeply disappointed. They filed a claim on their travel insurance for a partial refund, not because the guide was bad or the mules were unruly, but because, in their words, the view was mostly the backside of the mule in front of us. They felt the brochure had promised sweeping vistas, not a 10-hour tour of another animal's tail. Their claim for a scenic deficit was not approved. 47. A woman in California attempted to add a new dependent to her premium health insurance policy, her cat, Jasper. Her logic was that since Jasper was a certified emotional support animal, he was a medically necessary component of her mental health treatment. Therefore, she argued, his own health and well-being, including feline behavioral therapy and prescription salmon oil, should be covered alongside hers. The customer service agent had the unenviable task of explaining that their definition of dependent is strictly limited to the human species, and Jasper, despite his vital role, would need his own pet insurance policy. 48. After attending an afternoon baseball game and getting a nasty sunburn, a fan tried to file a liability claim against the stadium's ownership. His argument was that his ticket guaranteed him a seat, but it did not come with a disclaimer about prolonged and hazardous solar exposure. He contended that the stadium had a duty to provide adequate shading for all patrons and was therefore negligent for the placement of his seats in direct sunlight. Have you ever gotten a sunburn so bad you wanted to sue the sun itself? 49. An amateur gardener was immensely proud of his single perfect, prize-winning tomato, which he had insured under a special rider on his homeowner's policy. The night before he was to enter it into the county fair, a deer jumped his fence and ate it. He filed a claim not just for the value of the tomato, but for the theft of its future potential, including prize money, seed sales, and a lucrative book deal about his gardening journey. 50. A woman on a strict diet filed a renter's insurance claim against the new artisanal bakery in her building. She claimed the pervasive and aggressively delicious scent of fresh croissants was a form of olfactory sabotage. She argued this sensory intrusion made sticking to her diet psychologically impossible and sought compensation for her ruined health plan. The adjuster denied the claim, noting it was the first complaint they'd ever received against something smelling too good. 51. A homeowner submitted a property damage claim after his robotic vacuum cleaner, a Roomba, allegedly went rogue. He claimed the device wasn't just malfunctioning, it had developed a malicious sentience. His official report detailed how the Roomba methodically and repeatedly rammed into the legs of his prized antique grand piano, leaving dozens of scuff marks. He insisted it was a targeted assault and that the appliance was no longer a cleaner, but a domestic terrorist. The claim was denied, as rogue appliance rampages are not a covered peril. 52. In a case of profound misunderstanding, an elderly man who had been paying a life insurance policy for 20 years filed a claim after the recent death of a loved one. The insurance company was prepared to process it until they saw the name of the deceased on the certificate, Quercus oaki rober. The man had taken out a life insurance policy on the 200-year-old oak tree in his front yard. He was genuinely heartbroken when the company had to explain that their policies are exclusively for humans, not beloved members of the local flora. 53. A man filed a claim for identity theft and reputational damage caused by his own pet parrot. The bird had learned to perfectly mimic his owner's credit card number and banking password from overhearing phone calls, and began loudly reciting the sensitive information to any guests who visited the house. The owner argued that his pet had become an unsecured data transmission device, creating an unacceptable liability. The insurer denied the claim, stating they could not be held responsible for data breaches when the source of the breach is a talkative bird. 54. An avid golfer on a trip to a world-renowned course in Pebble Beach had a terrible round, scoring over 30 strokes above his average. He didn't blame his swing, he blamed the weather. He filed a claim with his travel insurance for a full refund of his non-refundable $1,000 greens fees due to malicious and non-standard wind conditions. He insisted the wind wasn't just gusty, but was actively targeting his ball's trajectory in an unfair manner. What's the most ridiculous excuse you've ever heard for losing a game? 55. A man in Arizona racked up over $50,000 in debt on late-night shopping channels. He filed a claim under his homeowner's policy to have the entire debt erased. His reason? He alleged his neighbor, a retired electrical engineer, had built a low-frequency mind control device in his garage. This device, he claimed, was being aimed at his house, compelling him against his will to purchase useless gadgets. He demanded the insurance cover the debt as it was a hostile act that occurred on his property, violating his personal sovereignty. The claim was denied, likely after the adjuster finished wiping away tears of laughter. So it seems the line between a genuine catastrophe and a personal inconvenience is blurrier than we thought. From stolen lawns to emotionally abusive refrigerators, these stories prove that human audacity knows no limits when a potential payout is on the line. But let's be brutally honest for a second. Forget these people. Think about your life. What is the one, single, absolutely ridiculous thing that has happened to you where, for a split second, you genuinely thought, I deserve to be compensated for this? If you enjoyed a world where a bad haircut is considered a temporary disfigurement, hit that like button. And subscribe, because the vault of human absurdity is bottomless and we have the key.